gives you, at least you've done all the due diligence you can do to ensure that you are taking in industrial hemp that is legally grown in the state of Colorado. And should someone come and visit and say, boy, that stack of hemp over there or that cannabis over there, how do you know that's valid? You show them the certificate, and we would take a call from an agent that came in and said, boy, we want to know if that's a valid registration. We'll confirm that. Yes?
I guess what's sort of a follow-up to that. If does only the CDA testing apply in terms of 0.3% compliance, like if once it leaves the grow and has been harvested, and if it subsequently were tested by a lab that's not the CDA, or potentially over 0.3%, is that?
So the question is private lab tests, how do they affect our test? So two things. One, the CDA's test would be the one that we would use for compliance testing. We won't use an independent lab. Again, basically we don't know what sample was submitted. If someone said, boy, I got a test that from the CDA that's at 0.2%, and you did a test and it's at 0.5%, we all know that material will climb. We do our best ability. We test as late in that crop as we can, and at that time, that material is below 0.3. But that doesn't mean it's ever going to, if somebody tells me it's 30 days and they go that 45 days, they're a little long, they run the risk of going over. The longer that stands, it is potential for it to go over. I'm going to go right back to where I started. Industrial hemp is any cannabis with a THC concentration of 0.3% below. Once it crosses that, we don't have any jurisdiction. It is marijuana by the Constitution, and that is what it is.
That's whether it's growing or not.
That's whether it's growing or not. Yep. And again, that's why we think it's important not to cheat on where we get that 0.3 by saying, as Alex, I'm not pointing fingers at you, Alex. Boy, a variety is at 8 weeks it's underneath that 0.3, but at 12 weeks it might be over. We're going to make sure that it's under 0.3 at the latest maturity that we can test, and in those broad geographic climates, to give our producers, our growers, everybody the assurance that, boy, if it was certified material, it shouldn't have to be tested. Yes?
For the CDA testing for THC, throughout the entirety, because obviously you'll be testing plants that are just in veg and plants that are mature, will you be, how much of the plant maturity will you be testing, and how much of the flower are you testing the flower against the whole weight of the plant, or what?
So the question is really, what are the criteria we're using for testing? Is it all flower? What is it that we test? So we have the protocols were established, and I'm happy to share those with anybody. They're really developed using international standards that are out there. But what I would tell you is that we look at the part of the plant that has the highest THC. I don't want to give anybody the false idea that material that's because we've diluted it with other parts of the plant material, somehow it may not, because when law enforcement looks for that material, they're going to take that part of that plant material that's the highest THC, because that's what people would smoke or use to get high. So our test will be on that flower bud material. It'll take the seeds and it'll take the stems out, just like, I think you'll look at Canada's even program is tested the same way. So we'll look at that plant material that has the highest THC, and that's what we'll be testing at its most mature stage. Mm-hmm. Yes?
What is the status of the seed program now? Are there some certified?
There are no certified varieties. So I get asked all the time, well, why don't we just bring in certified seed from Italy, Canada, Australia? Well, first of all, they don't have the same certification standards, so it doesn't really apply, for one. Varieties, I think everybody is aware, because of where they're grown, changes their THC level. We've done no testing of varieties, So that's the first step, is to even establish what varieties. Then once we look at the varieties, and we see what varieties maybe from outside of the country, we could look at producing those varieties here in the state, because what we're not going to get in the business of is importing seed to give away for certified seed. We're not, the Department of Ag is not in the business of commercial market. We look at, we've got breeders here in the state, we've got people that are interested, international people that are interested in producing seed here in the state for the farmers. That's the direction we'll be headed.
What the time frame is, what do you expect to have?
Well, part of that will depend on CSU. So I can tell you we will be planting those first variety trials this summer. We have foundation seed lined up to produce. So whether CSU will be ready this summer to take that on and be able to start walking those certified fields and certifying, I can't tell you at this point. That discussion, my understanding, is ongoing right now at the university, and we hope that this spring we'll be planting the first fields that then could be certified seed available to farmers next year, not spring of 2016, but spring of 2017. That's moving along as quick as you can. Chad?
Land parcels, you mentioned the 5 different parts of the state. How are the land parcels going to be identified? Or are they on a voluntary basis? Are these CSUs, research centers, or how is that going to unfold?
Well, so the question was, is how are we going to determine where those 5 sites are, and who are we going to work with? Is it going to be a voluntary basis where somebody could come in? Is it going to be CSU? What we have committed to is finding a place. Until last Friday, we thought that would be all international or independent farmers. That provides some difficulties for us in the fact that not every farmer has the same level of care, and so we have really the standardization and the risks of one test failing, and what does that mean for the overall program is different. And it's not saying that all the farmers aren't good or have good intent. It's just we don't have the consistency. Last Friday, and actually a couple weeks before that, Mitch and I had a conversation with the folks at CSU, and it sounds like they may be willing to do it on their sites. We would just as soon pay CSU to do that to support some of the agronomic research that they could be doing as well. I would assure everybody that if we do it at CSU property, it means that those seeds have to be destroyed. They're cross-pollinated. It means, those things. CSU can't use it for breeding purposes either. They're used to doing this sort of stuff. So last Friday, it sounded like there was some interest from CSU in doing it on their sites, and that would be great for us. Yes?
Is there any benefit to contacting the local law enforcement ahead of time before you plant and making them aware once you're certified at CDA?
Great question. The question was, is there any benefit to contacting the local law enforcement when you get a certificate? And while it's not a requirement, we encourage our registrants to contact 2 people really before they ever put seed in the ground. We actually tell them 3 things. Make a copy of that certificate, laminate it, post it by your field is a great idea. It not only makes law enforcement aware that may drive by and stop by, but teenagers are a little less interested in stealing hemp than they are stealing marijuana. So it's kind of that insurance crop for your own crop. The other thing that we say is contact your fire department and contact your law enforcement. We had one of our registrants last year that got a place inside town, a small rural area, and was starting to process some stuff, and he had some fields, and law enforcement showed up, and so he was trying to explain to him what he was doing, and he was getting his certificate, and he's really the one that said, the worst thing I did was not start by contacting them, because now he has coffee about once a month with them. You build a relationship, and it goes a lot farther. They like to stop in, see what you're doing. It is a much different relationship when you are on the forefront of showing them what you're doing than when they feel like you're hiding from what they're doing.
Might I suggest that the Department of
We have the certificate that we print, and that's, or that you can print. We can do lots of things. They all come with a cost.
Exactly.
So I'm not sure everybody would appreciate that. I would tell you that I've seen some really great signage by some of these places. I mean, some unbelievable signs. I was going to use some of them in the program today, but I hadn't gotten authorization from all of them, so I left them out. But there are some great signage. Some of them that talk about what hemp is. I mean, it is incredible. Some of the signage our registrants have done. I would tell you the cost for us to do those would be prohibitive for people to get into the program. So, I think it really depends on where you're at, what you want. Yes?
Do we have access to mobile extraction units for fields that test hot? What's the, are we allowed to process those fields?
No.
Or what's the,
No.
what do we need to do about
He
that?
just went over
Again, I would tell you that
He said,
the jurisdiction that the department has is over the cultivation. Once it crosses 0.3%, it is marijuana. If you have a processing and you are processing material that is above 0.3, it is being grown outside of any state system, and you take the liability.
You have to contact the MMD probably then.
Yeah, it's not our jurisdiction.
Can I just ask one last question, super fast? Just wondering, are we able to sell to the dispensaries?
So the question is, are hemp growers able to sell to the dispensaries? Again, we don't have a problem. We don't regulate the sale, so we don't have a problem. I don't know what MED's position is. I know there's lots of discussion over what they can and can't take in.
Okay.
We don't have a problem with it.
Just wondering if they've given you official position of statement or anything yet.
No.
Okay, thank you.
One more question or so, and then we'll wrap.
She was saying there, I mean, you have to have a license, to do that anyway. So if
No.
these are totally separate deals, you know what I mean? Especially what you were saying about seed smuggling. Most genetics that I would know that would be passable in, your guys' eyes were bred from, California strains or whatever that may have been smuggled at one point that somebody received a clone of or something, you know what I mean? How does all that work?
Are you talking about the verifying of a variety?
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, this isn't going to be, I didn't tell you this was going to be easy. You're just going to be able to say, gee, I smuggled this in 3 weeks ago, I'll cross that line off, and then I'm going to call this my variety. You can't do that in corn, you can't do it in wheat, you can't do it in,
Right.
That's not what I'm saying, though. I mean, most of the cannabis genetics, I mean, this is a brand new deal, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of, maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of, stores where you can go buy passable, hemp seed, or is it?
well, but as you do, as you go through a breeding process, you need to document what you did, where it came from, how you used it, and
What if I bred a genetic that's passable now that just came from strains that I had? You know what I mean?
came from strains that you had. Again, you'll have to document, if this were, again, if that wouldn't matter what this crop was, you'd have to be able to document where your parentage came from, how you got the variety, and what unique traits it are. There's a lot of breeding work. In some crops, it's extremely difficult to get in because there are chromosomes or parts of chromosomes that are patented. That's not the case here, but yes,
Yeah.
as Grant said, but it will be. And you can't infringe on someone else's rights because it was smuggled. So, not saying that what you got was smuggled, but what I'm trying to say is, if you were the breeder and someone else were stealing your material, you would want someone to say, well, they can't just take what I invented, a higher yield. So it's really about protecting intellectual property as much as anything. And again, we'll reschedule yesterday's meeting, which may now be more appropriate after this, to probably the week of July 11th, January 11th.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
a
we're really
different
close
reschedule.
Rick Novak from Colorado State University will make another presentation on seed certification. I'll go into, and he can answer some of those questions about lineage and how they do it in all crops. But we'll also have patent lawyers here, and
Nice.
Say that I didn't, okay, say that I
We'll be
didn't
recording that
what
seed
happened,
patent protection, live streaming it.
does that just not work?
you said you haven't documented?
Yeah, no, I just, I'm in the medical marijuana field too, you know what I mean? And, I have, a lot of patients that don't care to have THC, you know what I mean? And CBD offers, the only, I'm sure you know all that.
Absolutely.
So, I've got a strain that, I don't necessarily know where every, where all the parents came from, I do know that it passed and that I have it, can I plant it?
So planting it and certifying are two different things. Planting it,
You said seed smuggling, in the very beginning, before we were talking about seed.
okay, but you've got it now. It's in the state. You've been producing it. So now you're going to produce seed from it.
I don't necessarily want to produce seed, I just want to plant a hemp farm.
Okay.
With the genetics that I have.
So if it's not certified seed, whether it's a clone or it is something you can't document at this point in time, I'll call those proprietary genetics for lack of any better term than I come up with instantly. We're not going to stop you from planting those. We may come out and test more often because it's not certified seed, and in a lot of places you couldn't plant it, period. We're going to allow you to plant it, we're going to monitor, we're going to look at it closer, and then what your standard is just staying below the 0.3% threshold. If you were wanting to go into the certified program, it may take, in a case where you don't have any records, it may take you a few years to document.
I'm just saying, I was just worried that, that's some kind of seed smuggling charges or something like that. Okay.
Oh God, yes.
One last comment?
There will be a whole thing about this, the seed protection and the seed certification, and that guy is supposed to be in charge of it now. That one right there.
The Med's position is that you can take industrial hemp-derived
Right.
components, for example, and use them as an ingredient in infused products.
Mhm.
And you can also sell finished hemp-derived products on the medical side, not the rec side. I just think that's interesting with the overlap.
Right.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think at this point we'll wrap it up. Just one point of
My phone
note.
is dying. I'm going to
so
have to
the
end this live stream.
changes in the rules that Dwayne spoke about here today, those are proposed. They will be published in the Colorado Register on Christmas, so they're Christmas rules.
Oh,
And that
yay.
will happen because it's all done electronically, so somebody's not there on the 25th. But look for those. We'll provide copies as well following that. There will be a hearing on those rules January 14th at either 2 or 3 in the afternoon in this room.
Important date.
So if you want to make comments on that, that's where we take official comments. You'll be able to present whatever you want at that point, and then we'll consider it. We're looking at then at making any changes and having those effective the end of March. It would be March 30th would be the implementation date for those. So be looking for those in the next couple weeks, and then if you want to come on January 14th, you're more than welcome to come and make a comment. And again, we'll maybe that same week we'll have the meeting on plant patents and breeder rights. It sounds like that's something a lot of people are really interested in and would like to see. With that, thank you. Thanks
Thank
for your attention
you.
today.
Thank you.